hooker, very effective performance from him. Whilst we all like Niall Evalds, I'd rather see him on the wing or at fullback. I kept thinking in the second half when Salford's tries were scored in front of us and the kicking tee was brought out by your man Chris Wellham, I kept thinking, what's going on here?
Yeah.
That would have sorted that. That would have sorted that out, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Having like experienced, high calibre Chris Wellham playing in
experienced
the centre
Chris
ahead
Wellham.
of a player who's a winger or a fullback.
Maybe so. Maybe Chris Wellham lacks a bit of fitness.
Possibly.
Given that he's had a winter of not knowing where he was going to be working and not training particularly hard. Not his fault, I should point out, but he just won't have been trainers, I believe, through the winter time. Right, down to the south of France then, where it was a case of Gigot, not Gigot. Catalan Dragons edged, however, a ferociously fought opening Super League encounter against the Warrington Wolves. Andre Cervello had put Wolves in front early on with a debut try, but Richie Myler pounced on an error against his former club in reply. Greg Bird crossed for a try with Warrington's Tom Lyman being sin-binned during the game. Rhys Evans went in late on to give Warrington hope, but Luke Walsh kicked a penalty and Braden Williami's last-minute score confirmed victory. Perhaps a surprising one for the Catalan Dragons, Mark.
Yeah, we start with Wire Joe 90, so as his name suggests, Warrington fan Joe. A scrappy start to the start of season game for both sides was a really poor performance from us, and we beat ourselves in the end by not cutting out our handling errors and penalties. Dec Patton carried on from where he left off last year and with a decent game, but there are a few players who will need to look at themselves before Brisbane turn up next week.
Alan Walker said, good defence tonight, red wine in the water bottles, needed it with the cold weather up north. He says that they're in northern Catalonia after all 17 played their part. Bird, Horo and the very French Battieri shone. With no leg of lamb, Yaha's injury should have been fatal. The rearranged backline was rearranged. By the way, Bernie G needs to get the drugs inspectors up the factory for Long Good Friday style and sort them out proper, sharp knives and stuff. Hashtag slaughterhouse visit. I think someone's had a public house visit when they were composing that one, to be completely fair. Would you like me to do Elliot Wrench, so to speak?
No.
Are you going to do him for me?
Well, I was going to talk about that rearranged backline thing.
Yes, go ahead.
As well. Braden Williami didn't convince me as a fullback, but when he got into the centre position, he looked much more at home, didn't he?
Yes.
I don't know, I'm asking you didn't see this one, did you?
I'm just agreeing. Yes, I think he probably did.
Elliot Wrench said, fantastic start and skill by Cervello with a well-worked try, but the Dragons slowly got back into it. Bruising first half with the errors and team warning telling the story for Wire. Costly errors from Wire again in the second. Not that Catalans are too much better, but they are reading things much more positively and nicking a few balls. Even with a great try later on, the better side won. Too many errors.
Félicitations, bien joué.
There you go.
Congratulations, well played.
You do that, yeah.
The buggers robbed me of a perfect Super Brew pick at the last minute was Chris Macy's contribution. Heartbreaking stuff for Chris. What?
I'm laughing at
He's heartbreaking. I'd be heartbreaking.
Brian Davies, he said, Catalans did well to tough this one out and win. Would normally expect them to crack and lose in tight games. Paul Ayton was pivotal for them and they could be in for a good year if he stays fit. Matty Russell must have the same skills coach as Greg Eden. Paul Ayton, hey, me and Brian are on the same page.
You are on the same page, aren't you? Absolutely. Okay, Al Akart, or at Map of France, which is a new one on me.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks for getting in touch, Al. He said, Warrington can get better, but can Catalan? Greg Bird got away with murder. Cervello, Westerman, Cooper, Clark and Patton all played well. I suspect that Al Akart might actually be a Warrington fan.
Yeah, despite the France part of the handle.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of handles we've not seen for a while.
Well, no, just before, Westerman was Warrington's best player for me.
Okay.
In this game. There you go.
They are. Thank you.
Okay.
Who's this chap?
Dirt R Cowboy at Dirt Rude Cowboy. Dirt _ Rud RD for road _ cowboy. He says,
like a dirt road cowboy. You've stuck in my head for days, that now. Cheers, mate.
His review was, I've been to Blackpool and rode a donkey, but need to know the origin of Barry's comment. Classic.
What did Barry have to say?
Well, this is what I was searching for just before. I forgot. I didn't pick up on this during, probably just because of like Barry's Barryisms kind of go over my head a little bit sometimes. But Barry said, He rode him like a Blackpool donkey mid-second half when a tackler got caught on top of a Wolves player.
Good stuff.
This suggests that Dirt Road Cowboy gets in touch with us from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Wow.
So there you go. I wonder if he's the blue meth supply.
You never know.
Anyway, so Barry, if you're listening this week, what's the inspiration? Have you been riding the donkey?
I think it's just a turn of phrase, isn't it? Rode him like a Blackpool donkey.
Well, we'll see.
I think it probably means he rode him quite hard and for a prolonged period of time.
No, it was one of them where, the player gets caught on top.
Oh, right, I
tries
see.
to stand up and is left on top. It didn't wave a lasso or anything.
It didn't have a kiss me quick out. Oh, no. I don't suspect there's a great deal of clearing up that Baz needs to do on that one, to be honest then. Paul Ludo Lewis, he says, Dear Warrington, if you're not going to be using Declan Patton when Kevin, hiss snaky bastard Brown is back, then can we have him, please? Lots of loathe the Widnes Vikings. Very good, Paul. Quinn Strong with his Twitter game, early doors, is Paul Ludo Lewis. That's the second time he's made me laugh this week.
Yeah, this was a match review, not a tweet. But...
Okay, well, with his contributions then.
There you go. At BP Loftus.
Pedantic bastard.
At BP Loftus, he says, Greg Bird, what a turd.
Ha!
So often questionably late and high, not tough as he could be, just a twat. Catalans, arm waving like footballers. James Child as consistent as always, grimace face. Wire should have won. Some sloppy handling and passing cost him this game.
There you go. With some luck, they'll fix it up for next weekend then. Lee Whitnell, final one on this one. Spending the long off-season excited for Super League to kick off. Wonder how the boys will come out of the blocks. How will the new signings gel? Will this finally be our year? Then they play like that and you remember why it never is.
Yeah, just going back to Brendan's really. Those 2 points you made, Catalans arm waving like footballers and then James Child as consistent as always. I think there's a link there to those two things. I don't think James Child had the best game of the 4 games that I saw refereed. Okay. All the referees make questionable decisions and then make good decisions, don't they? Mm-hmm. I certainly think the referee at Saints, was it Bentham?
Yes.
Had the best performance that I saw. Was it Bentham? Yeah, it was
Bentham. Then it was Hicks on.
James Child struggled in this game because of the antics of the Catalan players. They did throw their heads back when they were hit marginally around the neck. They did exaggerate things to an extent. It made it harder to police aspects of the game because you're second guessing yourself when you're not sure what you're seeing.
Yeah,
and it's hard for the referee in those circumstances. So whilst I do think James Child had the weakest refereeing performance I saw this weekend, I also think he had the hardest job on his hand because of the contributions of the players.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay,
I can completely take your point. Tell us about the statistics on this one then.
We did lead.
We did lead, yeah. I did lead.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it too.
As you should. Yeah. The stats. Warrington had almost 2% better team tackle success, but with 20 errors and 13 penalties conceded, they were too big a challenge to overcome. Less than 1,000 metres is a usual recipe for defeat too. Fewer buffs and offloads, but Catalan were able to make 250 more metres and a couple more breaks. That helped see them win this one with 32 total errors. This was the first game of the year to go over the since SLP average of 24 errors per game.
Ooh, there you go.
So up to this point, relatively tidy.
Yeah, there you go. Statistics then. Who stood out for us?
Well,
did anyone stand out for us?
As many as in the other games because of the scratchy nature and the stop-start effort of it and all them penalties and stuff we discussed and errors. Richie Mile with a try and try assist though. His try, absolute pickpocket try. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, no.
I was having a drink with Cass on Saturday night and he'd not seen it, but then he had his phone out and he saw the clip come up on his Facebook feed or his Twitter feed or whatever, and then just started laughing out of the blue whilst I was talking to someone else. And I was like, what's going on? He's like, I've just seen Richie Myler's try.
Right, fair enough.
What was that all about? Where it was Reece Evans who threw it inside and...
I don't know. I'll see it in about an hour's time, I should have thought, on the Super League show.
Greg Bird, for all his nastiness, had a try and 168 metres. Really good line he ran for his try. He did put in a lot of hard work. There was... The most questionable part was probably the Darryl Clark flare-up, where Clark alleged that he'd twisted his ankle. I didn't see it. I didn't see it that way. To be completely honest, I think he's a grubby player. He's Greg Beard. There's no question about that. And he deserves any reputation he carries. I don't think that was that. Which I don't want to defend him, but I feel obliged to in that instance. On the flip side, for Warrington, there were some good performers. Joe Westerman, 48 tackles, 10 of which were marker tackles, and 5 tackle busts. He came close to 100 metres as well, I think. Darryl Clark, 46 tackles and 102 metres. He is consistently a both-way performer for me, and one of the most enjoyable players to watch in the league.
Definitely.
Matty Russell with 143 metres too.
Well, there you have it. So, the final game of the weekend saw Hull begin their Super League season with a narrow victory over Wakefield Trinity at Belle Vue. 3 penalties from Mark Sneyd gave the Black and Whites a 6-2 lead at the break in an error-strewn encounter, with Sam Williams slotting Wakefield's penalty. Scott Grix gathered his own kick to score on his debut to give the hosts the lead in the second half, but it was new boy Jake Connor who collected Sneyd's kick with 12 to go to win it for the Challenge Cup holders, Mark.
Yeah, no swearing as we do this one, if we can avoid it, Tom.
I shan't swear, but what I will do is say I called it. I had a 4-point win for Hull.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. So we start with Scoots 28 Matt, or Sarah Mackenzie, to those.
Or Mum, as some of our listeners might call her.
There you go. Potential banana skin avoided in the freezing conditions, showed intelligence by taking the points on offer in the first half. Kelly looked to get involved all match. Note on Kelly that he faces a 1-game ban from the charge he picked up from this game, unfortunately for him. Andy Scrimshaw. Oh, sorry, it's you.
It's my turn.
Go on.
That's all right. Andy Scrimshaw got in touch and said,
good, Scrimshaw.
A win is a win is a win. You're a prick. That's the only reason I was excited for reading him out.
We weren't meant to swear. Oh, well. Sorry, Scoot. Sorry, Joshua.
Sorry. I'll mention it in the... when we record the intro, I'll mention it then so she knows. Andy Scrimshaw, it's really Mark's fault. Andy Scrimshaw got in touch and said, a win is a win is a win. It was never going to be champagne rugby given the conditions. Happy to start the season with 2 points. That's good, Scrimshaw.
Joshua says, it was a very rainy day and my top 3 players were Danny Houghton, Albert Kelly and Sika Manu. Sneyd kicked well.
There you go, good stuff. And the Wakey White will give the final word on this one. Really enjoyable game down at Belle Vue, despite the conditions and lack of tries. A real arm wrestle all the way through with some great defence on display from both sides. Hard to read too much into the game due to the weather, but was pleased with how our pack stood up to Hull, especially with England going off in the first 5 minutes. We could easily have nicked it at the end if Grix was half a metre faster too.
That's what happens when you sign
Scott Grix.
Yeah.
Oh no, Scott Grix.
I was following this one on Twitter whilst I was putting together the blog on attendances.
Very good.
And yeah, it did get a bit exciting, considering how sloppy it seemed in the first half, and both sides seemed fairly useless, although the conditions mitigate that to some massive extent, I would say. The second half, there did seem to be opportunities popping up and chances created or chances missed or errors made that were giving chances to the opposition, and it gave it an excitement factor, and you weren't sure who was going to win. So credit to Hull FC though for toughing this one out, I suppose. All the big talk was about the way the forwards played and that sort of thing, and the stats maybe support that to an extent too, so we'll get on to those.
Yes, tell us the story of the game.
The teams had a similar amount of ball and made a similar number of tackles. A big difference, though, was that Hull did things better. They made metres at 0.8 metres per carry better, average, and tackled at 4.9% better success rate than their opponent. Both sides had 10 attacking kicks, but Hull forced 2 goal line dropouts and Wakefield none. And obviously we're hearing one of the tries came from a kick as well. Hull made more positive plays in the game than negative ones. It suggests that they were good value for the win. I'll explain my positive and negative. It's a new stat I've brought in.
All right.
So positive plays or impact plays, I've not decided what I want to call them, are your
I like impact.
tackle bust, clean tackle busts, clean breaks, and successful offloads combined as a figure.
Right.
Your negative ones are your missed tackles, penalties, and errors.
Yeah.